Welcome back to Reading Every X-Men Comic Ever, the weekly series where I read, recap, and rank every X-Men comic ever. This week I return to New Mutants, with issues 22 through 29, written by Chris Claremont, with art by Bill Sienkiewicz. If I got that name wrong, I apologize. But look, I actually have these ones. Cool, right? Well, I have most of them. I'm missing 25 and 26, but this is close enough. If you've seen the last few videos, you would know that I've been really enjoying this book, and that is still true. However, this batch didn't really live up to the highs of the previous one, which, in retrospect, should be pretty obvious because you can't expect Demon Bear levels of quality from every issue after that. As for the stories themselves, issues 22 through 25 cover the Shadow Within arc, which is a follow-up to the events of Marvel Team-Up Annual 6. Issues 26, 27, and 28 cover the Legion arc, and issue 29 starts off the Gladiators arc. It also gets interrupted by Secret Wars 2 prep, which makes sense considering how close we are to getting that event, and boy am I not excited. I swear it's looming over my shoulder like the goddamn Undertaker. However, I'm going to ignore that feeling of unease and recap these New Mutant issues instead. We begin with the New Mutants training with the X-Men, and Rain daydreaming about her OCs. This initial issue is pretty tame for the most part, aside from whatever the hell happened to Sunspot. The full story, however, comes in the next issue, where after Roberto goes nuts and knocks out Colossus before going into a coma himself, Sam and Danny track a missing Rain to a fancy hotel and start putting some pieces together, including a wolf attack in New York, a mysterious amulet, and a pair of teens, Tyrone Johnson and Tandy Bowen, aka the former heroes Cloak and Dagger. As it turns out, C and D here have lost their powers a bit ago, and Ty is not super interested in getting them back. Chuck and the gang continue their attempts to save Rain and Roberto from whatever their current afflictions are, to no success. It isn't until Tandy and Ty reconsider and arrive to assist in getting their powers out of the two New Mutants, and becoming Cloak and Dagger once more. This was a good arc, but not super interesting or engaging. I really liked how it was told, especially in the second issue, but it felt like it went on for too long. This could have been an issue shorter, and I would have liked it a bit better. From there, we move on to the Legion arc, where Chuck and a selection of New Mutants head over to Muir Isle to help with one David Charles Haller, the son of Chuck's old flame, Gabrielle Haller. David is a schizophrenic and autistic teenage boy, and has completely withdrawn from reality to a point that no other doctor has been able to help. On top of that, he has manifested multiple powers, including telekinesis, telepathy, and pyrokinesis, after being the only surviving victim of a terrorist attack. Chuck's initial attempt to help are met with a literal brick wall and a forced ejection. Later that night, Rain and Moira are caught up in an explosion in the lab caused by David, who takes their consciousnesses into his own. Chuck and Danny head into the astral plane to find Moira and Rain, but get sucked into the mind of David and his personalities. In David's mind, they find a war-torn landscape of a combined Paris and Beirut. There's also the giant dome in it as well. Chuck meets Jack Wayne, who's the personality with telekinesis, and Rain and Moira meet Cindy, the female personality with pyrokinesis. Jack tells Charles that there is an Arab personality named Jamail who has the telepathy part, and he is keeping everyone away from the dome because within the dome is David's main personality. The gang all regroups with Cindy and Jack and make their way to the dome, and inside they find a small mess of crystallized thoughts and memories, many scattered, but some seem to have been repaired mysteriously. As it turns out, Jamail has actually been trying to repair David's mind after the trauma from the terrorist attack. But that attack caused the mind to splinter, which is how the different personalities came about, and they were fighting against becoming whole again. Chuck gets knocked out by a swarm of rogue mind crystals, so Danny takes the lead and has Jamal and Jack work together to put David's mind into a workable state, so they can all leave David's mind and go back to reality. That is the Legion arc. For the most part, there is so much in these books that I did not include because I just couldn't find a way to fit it in a concise fashion, and that's not even including all of the side stories setting up other arcs or characters. So I highly, highly recommend reading this series for yourself to get the full experience. With this initial arc, I was expecting something more weird and wacky and reality warpy, but instead we get this look into a child's broken mind and how to go about fixing it. And I was surprised, but it's still incredibly good. This brings us to the final issue of the week, issue 29, which is the start of the Gladiators arc, and it follows the other half of the New Mutants team, who get into trouble as Roberto and Amara are kidnapped by some mysterious men and brought to the Gladiators. These are the same Gladiators that we see Dazzler join in the Beauty and the Beast miniseries, seemingly led by the same person, which is odd considering how that series ended. Sam and Ileana attempt to give chase with the assistance of Sam's girlfriend Lila and Dazzler herself. And they do find their friends, but when they attempt to rescue them, Magneto shows up looking for mutants to help in the fight against the Beyonder in Secret Wars 2. It really sucks that this arc's being interrupted by Secret Wars 2 bullshit, because it seems like it would have been a really interesting arc otherwise. There's clearly some mystery man controlling things from behind the scenes. I would have liked seeing how this half team would handle this situation. With that, I believe that covers everything I read this week. It's an even spread of 7s and 8s across these issues, which is a bit of a low spot for this comic run, but considering everything else I've read for this series, it's pretty damn good still. Obviously, no series rankings this week, as we are only like 29% done with this series. And if you've gotten all the way through this video, I really, really appreciate it. If you liked it, please hit the like button. It helps a lot. If you have any questions or comments on this issue, put them in the comments. I'd love to read them. If you have questions, I'll answer them as best I can. Please subscribe to know when the next episode comes out, and the playlist is in the description so you can watch this all from the beginning. Speaking of next week, I return to the X-Men with Uncanny X-Men, and a bunch of other related books. See you then.